This is the Water Your Garden podcast. I'm Sarah Michaels. This episode is all about you, your chance to water your own garden, pour into your own life, and grow. Welcome to this week's episode of Water Your Garden. This episode is very exciting. This is the first of what I think we'll be doing a little bit more of. We talked about every other episode starting to do a solo episode or kind of a solo episode, an episode with just Connor and I. So most of you guys know Connor. Connor is my husband, and this is his first time ever behind the mic. How does it feel?
It's a bit different.
Yeah.
Not used to being on this side of the camera, but it's going to take a little getting used to, but I think it'll be fun.
I love it. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
I really just can't get over the fact I've been on TV for so long, and it's always been me behind the mic and everything. So having you behind it and doing something with me, I'm just getting the biggest kick out of it. I love it.
This is new. I'm not on any social media, so
Yeah.
Being on this side of the camera is it's a different experience, but we'll
Just
give it a
be
shot.
yourself. Yes, as relaxed as possible. Actually, you being new to being on camera makes me more relaxed. So I feel great.
I'm glad you feel good.
Thanks. The purpose of this episode is we want to start doing a bit more of our own thing, but also a bit more of like a get to know the show, what started it all, like getting to know us more as people. So Connor has a list of questions because some of you guys have requested like a behind the scenes episode talking about why we started all of this and how. So feel free to fire away whatever you want to ask me.
Yeah, you gave me a list of the questions, but believe it or not, I am the captain now, so I might go a little off script. But obviously, getting to know you and understanding, what brought this all to be. Tell us a little bit about the backstory on what made you decide to leave news and take this leap of faith.
I love this so much. Okay. Well, okay, I was in news for nearly 10 years, and that's what I wanted to do my entire life. Like, since I was a little girl, I would watch people on the TV, I would hold my mom's cup of coffee, I'd pretend to be them, and I really gave everything to it, like, absolutely everything. I moved to places I didn't want to move to, I worked overnights. I mean, I have so many stories. I worked holidays, I worked 7 days a week. But I would say the last 3 years, I just I could tell that something was off. And I think it was a culmination of a lot of different things. But to be a top reporter in Detroit, which is what I'd worked my way up to be like the quote lead reporter, you had to cover a lot of negative news. And that's just the truth. Like there's the saying that's been around for decades, if it bleeds, it leads. And that is the truth. And that's never really why I wanted to get into news. Like, I always loved the morning news because I loved the encouraging stories. I loved seeing Oprah. I loved Regis and Kelly. I loved hearing long form stories and feeling like I got a little bit of advice from it that could make me a better version of myself. And by climbing the career ladder in news, I found myself in a space where I wasn't hardly ever doing anything like that. And I was mostly just covering traumatic stories and talking to people on the worst day of their lives. And not only was I doing that, but my deadlines were so quick because in news, you have a day to find a story, find the people in the story, get them to agree to go on camera, write the story, record the story, put the story out. Like you have 5 hours to do all of that. So I was talking to people on the worst day of their lives, and I wasn't even able to give them what I thought was an adequate platform. We'd talk for 45 minutes, and I'd splice up their trauma into a 1 minute 30 story that had to go on TV that night. So I feel like that question, I could talk about it for way too long, but a long story short is that I didn't feel good about the work I was doing anymore, and the rewards didn't outweigh the sacrifices. And it's a passion career, right? So if I'm not passionate about what I'm doing, then why am I doing it? And that mindset is ultimately what led to me leaving.
Well, I mean, obviously, things changed when you came here. The scope of work that you were doing was significantly different than
Yeah.
when you were in Lansing, Grand Rapids, and in Cadillac. Do you feel like not having that balance of, I mean, you got to do a lot of really cool things at the
Yeah,
beginning.
my first couple of news jobs were really fun.
You got to go up in a fighter plane. You got
Yeah.
to go to, events, festivals,
Mhm.
restaurant openings. Do you feel like that shift in balance where obviously bad things happen and
Hmm.
there's always going to be things in the news that aren't positive, but not having the ability or the opportunity to do some of that stuff that you were really passionate about changed your mindset around wanting to continue.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like working in news, it's also difficult because it was my genuinely my entire 20s. So it really shaped who I am. Like it really changed me as a person. So my first couple news jobs, especially my very first one, I was a feature morning reporter and had this show on the road. And it was all fun and games. Like we were live for National Pizza Day, giving away pizza on the telephone. I went up in a jet. I was in a hot air balloon and I loved it. But that was hard because I wanted to move back to Detroit because this is where our life is. And I knew ultimately we wanted to set up here. When I moved to Detroit and I joined, I mean, Detroit is a hard news network. That really is when, ooh, I hate to be negative, but I want to be honest. Like, it really did suck the joy out of my job because it was so rare that I ever got to do what I wanted to do. And when I would pitch the more lighthearted things that I used to do, people, I mean, I'm just going to say it like it is. Like a lot of people would look down on me. Like you weren't as good of a reporter if you weren't doing the lead story. And to a fault, I really like to please and be good at my job, like genuinely to a fault. So I just found myself leaning the way that I felt myself nudged by managers until, and I remember the exact story. Some of you guys might remember it, my coverage of it too. It was the Pontiac children neglect case the other winter. I remember it so well. I was on it for a week doing actual detective work. Like a prosecutor's office individual reached out to me saying that they were going to use some of the investigating I did in court. It was when I was on that I realized I was like, I am not even the person I set out to be. This isn't even the work I wanted to do. And so, yes, not being able to do the features or make a living doing that the way that I had initially hoped played a huge role in me leaving. But I feel like everything happens for a reason. So I think that I was pushed that way and pushed to do my own thing for a reason. Does that make sense?
It does. And obviously, like, I've had a little bit of a back slash front row seat watching your entire career. And
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know, we were together for, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years before we got married. So I
Yeah.
got to watch you grow. I got to watch you do all the things that you really enjoyed doing. And I think maybe I kind of got used to it because it was like, I never expected to see that shift in mentality when you got here because every day when you started your career, I'd wake up and be like, what crazy thing is Sarah going to do today? And
Yeah.
it, it was all fun. And then, I think there maybe could have been a better balance, but that's what you were doing and that's what made you successful. So watching you come here and not have that fire and that passion that made you who you are and brought you the success that you have, I think it was a bit of a shock for both of us because Detroit was kind of not the finish line, but it was a big milestone. And
Yeah. I
like,
wanted that for a long time.
we wanted to be together. We wanted to be in the same place. And we were long
Hmm.
distance for most of our relationship. You lived in Cadillac, you lived in Grand
Which was
Rapids.
crazy.
Like, it was wild. So then finally it's like, okay, you're here. We get to be together, but you didn't love it anymore. And
Yeah. And there's a lot of guilt that comes with that because for so long, and media has changed so much. Like news has changed so much, even in the last 3, 4 years. But 10 years ago, when I started, it was very hard to get to Detroit. And I wanted it so much, and I did so much work. I had so much guilt about achieving it and not liking it because it was a huge buildup. And I talked to so many people about how I wanted it, and then I got it, and I didn't want it. And there's so much guilt to that. But I really believe that everything happens for a reason. And I was talking to someone recently and they were just saying some kind words and they're like, when I saw you announce that you were leaving news, I was so shocked because you seemed so in love with it and so dedicated. And I was, but I mean, I'm actively working in news. I'm not going to post on social media about how sad I am that I didn't feel like I gave a grieving mother enough airtime today, or how I fought with someone about how I could have 30 more seconds to get out a soundbite that I think is really impactful and the world needs to hear. And I was told no, and I feel crushed. Like, You're not going to talk about those things, which is why this is so exciting to me because you have the space and platform to share the whole story and the backstory.
Yeah, and I'm sure I always told you along the way because you were so driven and you had these goals set in your mind. I always tried to remind you that even if we have a goal, one, don't worry about all of the steps along the way and making sure that you hit this plan in your head of I have to do this and then do this
Yeah.
because ultimately you can't control all of the things that are going to get thrown at you to get you where you want to be. But then also trying to remind you that even if this feels like the finish line, ultimately it may not be. And so, obviously you got here. It seemed like it should have been all sunshine, butterflies, and roses, and everything was going to be great. And it
Hmm.
wasn't. And I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. But what was, if there was one moment for you where you were like, all right, I got to go. This is it. What was that moment that
Yeah.
really cemented in your head that it was time to bounce?
There were so many things. And honestly, some of them I'm never going to talk about just because I'm not in the business of being rude about particular people in a public space. So there were individuals that helped with my decision, but I was feeling it for so long. I would say two things really pushed me over the edge. One, I did fall into a space where not a lot of people know this, where I like really, really, really did not like my job anymore. Like, hated it. And I won't go into detail about all the factors once again, but I remember a particular time period where I struggled to get out of bed to go to work. And I personally have never experienced that. Like the moment I woke up in the morning, it was just like this huge sense of dread. It was like, I know I need to pitch a murder. And I hate to sound crass, but that's exactly what it is. I know that I just woke up and I need to immediately get online and look for the most terrible thing that's happened overnight. I know I need to reach out to that family and convince them to go on TV today, and I just dreaded it. And that is the time period where I actually started listening to wellness podcasts and picking up little tips and developing a morning routine. I joined Body of Learning, the gym that I love now, like making myself go to workout class in the morning, trying to clean up my diet, trying to read before bed, trying to minimize my screen time. Like all those little things helped me in that stage so much. That's the first thing I started to realize, like, I want to create what inspires me. So I want to create content like that. Like these podcasts are changing my life for the better. I want to create something like that. And then two, it truly was the week of the Pontiac parent neglect case. If you don't know about that case, it's terrible, horrific. Essentially, this mother abandoned three of her really young children in a condo for nearly 5 years, and they were found in these like disgusting, deplorable situation. There was feces all over the walls, urine, toilet plugged up, like their toenails were overgrown. Like it was so terrible. I was on that for 5 days straight. Every day they just wanted more and more. And it's such a sad story that it was national. So technically that week I was at a career high. Like I was doing everything right. Networks were reaching out to me, asking me to do live hits. Networks were reaching out to me behind the scenes, asking to do interviews with me, to work with them after seeing my job there. I was the lead story every day with the station that I was working at. I was finding things no one else was finding, and I was miserable. It was also blizzarding that week, so I was in the negatives, and I was outside just trying to find every day like another detail about this terrible situation. And I genuinely remember, I think it was the Thursday of that week. It's like how well I remember standing outside before a live hit and thinking, I'm doing everything right, everything I was told to do. And I hate this. And I need to post on social media. I mean, I didn't need to. I posted my work on social media because I liked furthering my work and I know that's where the eyes are. I went to post my work and I knew that it would get views because I knew it was a terrible story. And I was having trouble posting it because I was like, I don't care that this gets all these views. I hate that this is what I'm known for. Like putting things like this out into the world. Like that's what I'm using, what I think my gifts are for. And so it was a culmination of those two. It was really that week where I was like, I don't want to spend my life making content that I don't necessarily think makes the world a better place. This feels like a therapy session.
I mean, you said a lot.
Yeah.
I would say that for those of you who don't know Sarah, really, with all of her soul, detests being cold. So you said that this week it was blizzarding and snowing. I think that probably
It
played.
was blizzarding and snowing
I'm
that
not saying it
week.
wasn't, but the
I'm gonna
fact that
post it. No, it was.
it was freezing cold. And for those of you who don't know, when Sarah took her first job in Cadillac, obviously Cadillac, Northern Michigan, very cold and snowy. You had the Canada Goose
That's what
full
you got
length
out of
coat.
that story.
You had the warmest hats you could find. I actually bought her battery powered
They're
heated
huge.
gloves to
Yeah.
try to keep her fingers warm, down to the boots, which again, so the cold factor probably played a lot. But I,
Yeah, but I just poured my heart out to you, and your takeaway was that I'm complaining about the cold.
well, I just want people to know that definitely probably, and maybe if you were in California, it would have been a different story.
No, but you know what? If I was in California, I probably would have lasted another year. That's true.
That sounds.
I did think about moving to Florida, and I actually would say to people that I worked with, do you think that this job would be better in Florida?
I mean, it probably would
So
have
that
been
is the
slightly
third
better.
factor.
Sure.
No, you're right. That is probably a big factor was the cold. I don't like how you called it out after I poured my heart out, but that is.
I mean, I think it's an important part of the decision. People need to understand how much you detest the cold. Don't want to
Yeah.
take away anything else from what you said. Obviously, it
It
was
wasn't the morals, it wasn't my passion, it
no,
was the
no, it was
cold.
just the cold.
That was a leading factor. Yes.
All right, so
Got me.
you've decided it's time to go.
Yeah.
Walk people through what that feels like from the moment that you tell your bosses, "I don't want another contract," to the first month after you took that leap of faith, and how
Yeah.
you feel now that we're what 5 months removed from making that decision.
It was a crazy journey. I'm a big empath, and I think that I feel things really, really deeply, and then like all of a sudden, like a light switch, move on really quick. So the decision to leave, I did not take lightly. You know this. I was so upset. In retrospect, probably more upset than I needed to be. But I just felt like I had worked so hard and I had gotten to where I had always wanted to be. And the choice to give that up was really, really, really difficult for me. It was like a death of my personality. It's what I had really given a huge chunk of my life to. So leaving was really hard. One thing that I'm working on right now for sure is being a people pleaser, even in leaving. Like I remember I was so like apologetic to my boss. My contract was up. I didn't do anything wrong. And he was really great. He was really nice. That's just my personality. Like I felt so guilty when there was absolutely zero space for me to feel guilty. I didn't do anything wrong. So it was really difficult, but I think it was made a lot easier because we had talked, and genuinely, I'm so lucky that I'm partners with someone who is so supportive. We had talked about creating the podcast, and you said you believed in it and you would do everything to help make it happen. Having something, I think this is actually a great tip if you are leaving a situation and you're sad about it. Having something that you're excited about lined up is huge. I think that was everything for me. Once we decided on the podcast, I flipped. I was like, all right, I'm out. And then I was just so excited to get started because I was so excited to finally have complete creative control over what I release. And this is a good reminder for me right now to be grateful for this ability.
I think the piece that I would take away from that is, you and I are wired very similarly. We're type A. We, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, we
Yeah,
have a
I'd say I'm
similar,
more type A, but yeah,
whatever you want to say. I'm not
I
going to
do a
argue
lot
with
of
you.
laundry, but
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. But being the type of person that truly gives everything to the opportunity to have,
Yeah.
that you work hard, that you pour everything into your job, making that decision that you want to leave and not feeling guilty about it is really hard because it goes against everything that is ingrained in you. Like you feel like you're abandoning the team, that you're,
Mhm.
somehow things are going to be worse when you leave, which ultimately, they probably will be. But telling yourself that, you know, you have to prioritize what's best for you, and knowing that you went about making that change the right way, while it's not easy to not feel guilty, like you should be able to sleep at night knowing that you gave it your all, you left the right way, you didn't leave anybody hanging, even if there's a hole that you occupied, and now it's there because you're gone. It's okay. It's hard to be okay with that, and
Yeah.
I've obviously not had the same career path as you, but I've had similar experiences in my past where you're so invested and you love what you're doing so much, but ultimately it's not for you. And getting yourself to realize that I can leave and I'm not indebted to this place. I don't owe it anything. I gave it my all is something that takes time to be okay with.
Yeah. It honestly has a lot of parallels to when you left the motorcycle industry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's similarities, but for you, given that this was something you worked your entire career to get to, I mean, that's a huge leap of faith. So we took the jump.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yes.
Let's rewind the clock back to 30 days post decision. What were you feeling? Did you ever have that moment of panic of did I make the right choice?
You're a very good interviewer. I'm still getting a kick out of it. You're doing a great job. You're very good at this. I don't know. I would say on and off. I think that I did underestimate how much ego was tied to my job. And that's just me being like very, very honest. You spend so long working at something and you get to a good place in your career and then you start over, it hurts your ego. I was at a place where when a new person came, I trained them. Like I knew what I was doing, I knew how I added value, and that went away. And so I think that the ego factor has been really difficult. Having to rely on social media isn't my favorite because it is so finicky. So I think that has been difficult. But truly, there hasn't been a time where I regret it. I'm not trying to go back out this winter. I'm not trying to go back out in the cold. This is good.
I think for me, the really cool thing that I've seen, and I know you've seen it a little bit, is the amount of people that have come up and interacted with you since you've left that,
Yeah.
one have said like, I can't believe you left. Like I really enjoyed watching. What I know for a lot of people in the TV news profession, I don't feel like anybody's watching. So hearing that people were watching in general feels good.
Yeah.
But the number of people that have come up and said like, I'm excited to see what you're going to do moving forward and want to follow you because of everything you did in
So
news.
nice.
I mean, it's huge. And
Mhm.
that feels great for you. Obviously for me it helps solidify that hey, we made the right choice to do this, because I think you can be 100% confident that you're making a choice, but there's always going to be that little thing in the back of your mind of like, was this the right call?
Yeah, like
Especially,
what the heck am I? Especially you tell certain people that you left and started a podcast and they smile, but you can see it and like they look at me. I told someone this week, a very nice older gentleman, and he was like, "Oh, and how's that going?" I don't even like calling it a podcast. I feel like we're on YouTube. I call it a show a lot.
well, I think it's just a chance for you to create the content that you want to create. And
Exactly.
I think if there weren't people that were skeptical, then I'd be more worried than the fact that there are people that are like, oh, what are you doing? Because it's a choice that most people wouldn't take, and it's
Yeah.
taken a lot of hard work. It's gonna continue to take hard work.
It
Like,
does take a lot of hard work. I want to emphasize that. Like this doesn't just happen. Like this whole setup right now, like we didn't want to get up. It was like a Saturday morning. It's cold out. Like no one wanted honestly to do this morning. But to come here and we're so lucky we get the phomology space at New Lab and set all this up. Like it is a lot of work, but I think it's worth it.
oh, for sure. And it does take a certain type of mindset to be able to get through this initial phase
Yeah.
where like you put something out there and let's just be honest, 50 people might watch it and
Yeah.
you're like, that's pretty lame. But
Wait, I feel good about 50. I feel like that's pretty good.
in general, like going, okay, I'm putting it out there, I'm building, seeing the growth, but being humble enough to go, this isn't going to be an overnight success. It's going to
Yeah.
take time. It's going to take hard work. But the end, the payoff, that's what's going to make it that much more worth it. Because if you had done it and you got a million views overnight, I don't know that it would really feel all that gratifying in the long run because it doesn't feel like you're building and you're working towards something.
Yeah.
So, obviously you left. You have a lot of friends in the industry, you have a lot of people you have professional relationships with. Did you feel any pushback from any of those people, or do you feel anybody giving you the cold shoulder now that you're
Mm,
gone?
I think I'm very lucky that friendship-wise, everyone has been so supportive. I have everyone's been very supportive. But when I initially said I was going to leave, there definitely were a lot of people who I understand, rightfully so, were upset and didn't understand why I would give up a stable career to do something on my own and try to like build my own community. So there is some pushback, but it really helped. I'm not just saying this, like it was a huge, huge, huge factor. I wouldn't have done it if you hadn't been such a believer in it and so supportive of it.
So, speaking of being a believer in it, obviously water your garden. That's the name of
Yes.
the podcast. That's the whole precipice behind everything we're doing. Where did that come from? How did you come up with water your garden
Have you ever seen the New Heights podcast with
with
Jason and Travis
Jason and
Kelsey? I don't know why you're just reminding me of Jason Kelsey so much right
I'll
now.
take that. That's
Maybe it's because you're like a gruff man putting on his journalist hat, but you're reminding me. That's a compliment. I love Jason Kelsey.
that's
He is actually my favorite.
that's very
Sorry,
high
he's my
praise.
favorite Kelsey. Wait, what was the question again? Sorry.
Where did you come up with
Oh,
the
yes.
idea
I
of
love this
water your
question.
garden?
I'm obsessed with this show. I'm obsessed with the name of it, which is like the whole journey, right? I wanted to be creating something that I was so excited by. So, Water Your Garden, I was genuinely staring at my Pinterest vision board, and it was a bunch of, oh, why am I forgetting her name? Oh, I was genuinely staring at my Pinterest vision board, and it was a bunch of Pamela Anderson photos. And most of the girlies, no, you're like smiling. It's not like that.
I mean, I hear Pam Anderson.
No. You're not the target audience.
Okay.
Pamela Anderson is in her like Martha Stewart Gardner era. So my Pamela Anderson photos are her gardening in very cute outfits.
So she's gonna start a show with Snoop Dogg and go to prison.
You don't get it. You don't get it. You're not the target demographic. Okay. So I was staring. Everyone knows like Pamela Anderson she's everything right now. There was photos of her watering her garden, and I was staring at it, and I was thinking about like the visuals and the community and what kind of atmosphere I wanted to create. And there was genuinely a photo of her watering her garden, and I was like, oh, I could make a photo like that. And then I thought, what am I gonna do? Like name it Water Your Garden? This is genuinely what went through my head. And I was like, oh, wait, water your garden, like pour into yourself, become the best version of yourself, grow your garden, feel like your best, most authentic, thriving self. Perfect. I got so excited when I thought of the name. I was hanging out with a friend. I actually got up and like jumped up and down for a second, which I don't do a lot, just because it's exactly what I'm trying to create. I love that question. And if you don't know, look up Pamela Anderson lately because she's everything.
Well, be careful when you search Pamela Anderson.
Stop.
Maybe search Pamela Anderson gardening. I don't know
This
what.
is okay. This is probably why you're good for the show because you're probably a good mix. But
So we chose the name Water Your Garden. It's when I heard it initially, and
yeah,
you kind of ran the concept by me. I'm like, oh, that sounds extra crunchy. We've had some guests that,
yeah,
skincare and things that maybe aren't really aimed at me or something that I wouldn't know.
you are not the target demo.
Right, which that's fine. But I think the cool thing, being behind the camera and just listening to all these
Yeah,
episodes is, and my first thought was this is going to be like a super girly podcast. It isn't going to be something that I'd want to listen to. But the way that you've done it and the way that you approached all these interviews, I think it really is something that anybody who has an interest in just learning about things they don't know about can listen to and take little pieces of information away from. Like, obviously I'm not going to go out and get a salmon sperm facial, but
you could. I would love it if you did that.
hearing, from these professionals and from these experts in their field has been really eye-opening, and I think it's been really cool to see what it's actually become compared to what I thought it was going to be when you just told me water your garden, because I thought it was just going to be a girly show, and it
Yeah.
really isn't. So
Oh, that's so sweet. And that's exactly what I'm so glad that you feel that way and you said that because that's what I try to say to people when I explain the show. I'm like, I use the word wellness and it is a wellness podcast, but it really is like anything that can make you a better version of yourself. Like, I want to have everyone on here who just has like I just think that at the heart of humanity is storytelling. and everyone's story can somehow help someone. You know what I mean? So I could have almost anyone on here. It just has to be the type of conversation that I think could benefit someone's life. And sometimes we do get really crunchy. We just did a whole thing on the lymphatic system and lymphatic drainage, which I think is like a little bit crunchy. But it's just supposed to be stories that uplift people and help them have their best week.
I mean, to that point, though, as she was explaining the lymphatic system,
Yeah.
I'm over there
Are you really?
pumping on my lymph nodes, seeing if it's going to make a difference. But, again, I think that it just speaks to who you are and
Yeah.
the skill set that you have, that you can take something that on the surface sounds like it might not be interesting to 90% of the population out there and make it a conversation that somebody can listen to that isn't interested at all. They'll leave going, wow, I actually learned something. Might not be, in their wheelhouse, but it's all, every single conversation has been interesting and, not
Nice.
not so girly focused that you would make
Yeah.
somebody want to turn it off that doesn't like that kind of stuff. So,
Oh, that is like the purpose of the entire show. So that makes me so happy.
and I'm not just saying that just to, blow smoke up your skirt. I mean, it really, I have to listen to it whether I want to or not. So
Yeah.
it's been really cool for me to be able to take stuff away from it, even if it's not something that, I'm never going to go out and get Botox, or I'm never going to go out and get micro needling done. But learning
I
about
don't
why
know why
people
you
do it,
don't. I would love it if you got more into skincare.
I'm going to leave that.
We're working on it.
So you did it.
Hmm.
You got the concept. We're still working through the early phases of, figuring out what you want this to be, and what it's going to turn into long term. What would you say has been the hardest part about doing this?
Um, Honestly, the workload, just keeping up. I have an amazing full-time job in addition to this, which I'm so grateful for. And I really can't emphasize that enough. I get to work on a creative team and help with marketing, and I love that. But that being said, it, sometimes I know we talk about this. Have once again found myself in a situation where I'm working 7 days a week. So that is the most difficult part. Sometimes I'm like, am I just like a masochist? Because I do this to like I sign up for all these things.
Yeah, you chose this.
So I know I actively choose this. Like this morning, we didn't want to wake up. Like I actively choose this. But I was really fortunate to be on a panel the other week, and they asked my top piece of advice for people in whatever industry they're in. And my number one piece of advice for people is to pay attention to what gives you energy. What gives you energy is the biggest clue, in my opinion, as to what you are supposed to be doing with your life. When we do this podcast, when I do these interviews with people, when I talk to people, when I dive into their stories and how they can help other people, I find myself hyper afterwards, smiling afterwards, feeling like the best version of myself. And I don't think it's always easy to put the time into what gives you energy, because that doesn't necessarily fall into your 9 to 5. It probably interferes with you sitting on the couch and scrolling on your phone for 2 hours. But if you make yourself do it, you're going to live a more energetic, joyful life. And so, truthfully, the hardest part of all of this is finding the time. But if you make yourself do it and you make yourself show up, it's more than worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, for me, like the biggest thing that I've learned is like this is 10% of what goes into actually putting out
Yes.
this content.
Hmm.
And I've gained a new respect just seeing the amount of time that it takes you to go through and edit and sync the audio
Oh
and
my
the
gosh, the
video and
editing.
clip it
Yeah.
and make it a product that people want to see. But then on top of that, everything that goes into just setting up this set and
Binding.
like,
Oh, yeah. Well, you do the set. Connor
well,
does the whole setup.
and honestly, I know what I'm doing a little bit, but I still have no idea what I'm doing.
It
And
looks really good.
we've had to learn about cameras and mixers and microphones and
No,
lighting,
you've
and
done all of that. I haven't.
we're doing it on the fly. But I've truly gained a new respect for the amount of work, because I think we're so desensitized to, you get on your phone and you see a clip and it looks
Content,
amazing and you're
content,
like, wow,
content,
this
content.
is easy, and then you try to
Hmm.
do it and you're like, holy crap.
Content is so hard. And I was even talking with someone, a company that I'm working for to create content, and they're being super kind. And they were saying, sometimes we get pushback from our team when they see content creators come in and get this free stuff. And they're like, oh, must be nice. They said, if you feel that way, then I can understand feeling that way. Like, go make the content. Like, it's not easy. after this today, I'm making a piece of content for a company, and it's probably going to take me like 6 hours. So even though we've been traveling and I'm dead tired, I will work the entire weekend. Like I won't ever stop. So it is really difficult. So it's nice, I think, to have an appreciation for we have so many creators that we love, how much time and effort they put into it.
Yeah, and I think that again, just the world we live in, people don't realize the amount of work it takes. Everything seems super easy
Totally. Yeah.
because you scroll on your phone and you see 100 clips that all look amazing and it's really cool content. But then when you actually step back and go, man, it probably took somebody 5 hours to put together that 60-second clip,
Yeah.
and that's been super eye opening for me. So obviously you're well versed as far as being in front of the camera. It's essentially how you've lived your life for the last 10 years. What surprised you about the difference in being in front of the camera from a news perspective to being in front of the microphone and the camera, doing
Yeah.
a podcast?
I think this is a lot more vulnerable for me. And I actually started to realize in the last couple of years of my career that I was always, and I still am to a certain extent. I mean, this is kind of the first time I'm not, but always talking about other people, always putting the spotlight on other people. And I realized I've actually been doing that. Like, I've always loved to create, I've always loved to take photos, I've always loved to talk. But you get like those flashbacks if you still have a Facebook and it'll bring up your memories from high school, which is like my age group when we got social media. A lot of my flashbacks will be me taking photos of other people. And my career was me interviewing other people and me putting other people's stories out there. I never really, I don't think, shared that much of myself. And doing the podcast is the first time that I like really felt like I needed to start doing that to grow. And it is a very vulnerable feeling. And so even though I've always been on camera, I feel like I've never opened myself up. So that's the thing with these episodes, like I'm trying to do more of that. And honestly, I'm so glad I'm doing it with you because I feel very safe and comfortable and it's really fun. But I've been surprised about how difficult it is to be vulnerable. But now that we're doing it, I enjoy it. I think this is fun.
So I mean, I feel like, and I'm having fun too, and it's been a really cool thing to do together.
Yeah.
Because again, I watched you grow. I watched you, become the amazing woman that you are, in everything that you did in news. But now to actually like be a part of it, I think it's been something that's been really awesome for us in our relationship. And even though there's been times where we've been frustrated with each other, or
Yeah, we
there's,
definitely fight sometimes.
I think it's been really cool to feel like I'm now finally a part of you know your journey and your process and putting this together, and so
Yeah.
it's been really eye-opening and really fun for me to dive headfirst and be a part of this. So
Yeah. I love having you be a part of it because one thing I really, really, really love about media, one of my favorite things about it, and being on the news, having a show, doing interviews, is I love, like, I am so curious and I love meeting people and being exposed to new topics. I do think that's one of the things that makes me good at what I do. Like, I'm genuinely, even if I don't agree with you, I'm genuinely interested. That's the thing about politics. People would always say, like, isn't it so hard for you to cover these events? And I'd be like, no, because even when I don't agree, like I'm genuinely curious. And you just learn so much by being in media and doing interviews. And I think you grow so much as a person. So obviously, you're my favorite person, and I spend most of my life with you. So having you like in these situations with me, ooh, look at me tapping the mic, having you in these situations with me, meeting these people with me, like growing like this with me is so fun. And I think this little, like these mini episodes, just us every other week, are really great. So I'm excited to do more of these.
well, I would say I'm excited. It's still a little bit terrifying for me. Last question for you. I
Okay.
feel like we've touched on it a little bit, but like,
Yeah.
what would you say is the why behind all of this? Like, what are you
Mhm.
really hoping that people take away from your episode every week or the content that you're putting out?
I really, really, really want to create a community. First of all, I know that it's a slow roll, but I want to create a community of people who are so interested in these topics and are growing together. Like I have so many visions in the future for being able to do, sorry, pretty girly, Connor, but like different girly events and get togethers and bringing people together and pouring into one another and feeling like the best version of themselves. But also, it really goes back to what content has always done for me. Like, I really hope that this creates a space where every week people look forward to an episode because they know they're going to learn something that makes their life better. Like, maybe someone does listen to the lymphatic drainage episode and they pump their lymph nodes and they have like some kind of miraculous result and that changes their life for the better. Or they listen to the meditation episode, they start meditating and they're able to mitigate their stress better. Or they listen to the episode with Colin and they start practicing kindness more and sharing it online and that changes their life for the better. I know that I love to create content. I love to do interviews. And the whole goal of that, and I think my purpose on earth with that, truthfully, is to somehow make other people's life a little brighter and happier and better. So that's the goal.
Well, I think it's a great goal, and I think that we're in the early stages of it, but I'm sure there are people out there that have taken small pieces of information away from every episode that you've done,
Yeah,
and I hope that change continues to grow.
thank you. Doesn't even feel like you're my husband right now. Thanks. No, it means everything to me when people come up to me or DM me and say that something has changed their life for the better. Like that means everything. I told you I ran into this super sweet girl this week who came out to an event because I was there and was like, she was so kind and said I was a role model to her. And that made me want to cry. And that makes working 7 days a week worth it because I mean, that's just like the kindest thing you can say. This was such a good job, Connor. You're good at this.
Well, I've had a lot of practice in the front row seat to learn from the master. So
But I think you're secretly good at these things. It's like when we went to take our engagement photos and like I've taken photos. Wow, I was gonna say I've taken photos for money before. I didn't want to say I've modeled
we'll
because
leave
that
that one
sounded
alone.
cringe. My point is we went to take our engagement photos and you were better at it than me. And now look at you doing this.
Look at us.
Good job. This was so fun. Look at us. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you like this episode, send me a DM. I love to read them. Comment on this episode. We'll be doing more of these every other week. So if you want to hear more about Connor, you want to hear more about me, more about like little things we do to try to live our healthiest, happiest lives, we are in no way experts, but always trying to be the best version of ourselves. Let me know, and we'll see you guys next time. Have a great week. Wait, I think you crushed that.